Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. They are changing my voice because they know that I'm right about everything. If they thought I was wrong about something, they try to argue with me about it. That is the pattern we see over the years. So before I get into this video, I'd like to point out that there's a difference between a warrior and a conformist, right? The average craftsman, the average lawyer, the masses of other people, in this case we're talking about males, the masses of other males, right? They conform. Even criminals conform to a large degree and have certain standards. In fact, America is very much a criminal state where the corporations are criminals and the government is criminals. Like every other nation in the world, it is a criminal nation, okay? And it's sad that people think that this shouldn't be said, or the video should be taken down if you point that out. It's stupid, right? It's like, duh. If society isn't doing a very good job of fighting crime, it's because it supports crime. You basically see that one-to-one all throughout history. They support the criminals, and they just play a game of, using criminals to kind of help them maintain the coercive power of the state with an emphasis on sexual control. And in fact, one of the proofs of this irrefutable fact is that there's a bunch of females out there with cultural barriers. Now, bear with me now. When we see Beauty and the Beast, do we get from that people should have cultural barriers? No. Aladdin, Cinderella. The message of these stories emphasizes the virtue of people is the idea. Of course, it's whitewashed and da-da-da-da-da, but most people see past the fact that it's a cartoon, that there's often subtle white supremacist ideology in it, and they look at it and say, the hero, regardless of race and religion, who deserves to have the female, should have her. So when we see the masses of attractive females, who are the most sought after, right? And most people would agree on who the attractive females are for the most part. When we see that they have cultural barriers, we see that they're raised wrong. We see that society has failed to prevent criminals and people who think like criminals in terms of stealing things from people, in this case females, attractive females. They prevented them from sort of, you might call it, brainwashing females to only date certain types of people. Now, there might be all kinds of very sick individuals. Maybe they rape their own children, horrible people who disagree. And I assure you, only a horrible person would disagree. For example, let's say you're from a culture where everybody there's a child molester and a serial killer and is a horrible person and cannibal and so on and so forth. And you have an attractive female in that culture, and she's only willing to date them. Do we need an extreme example like this to know that if you only date certain types of people without a moral imperative, right? If you use a scale of morality, then that's okay. If you use a specific cultural scale, that's not okay, even if you're religious. Because when you look at your religion, if you don't look at it in terms of what is universally moral, what must be virtuous and true, then you're sick. Okay? If you judge people by what culture they're a part of, outside of what is moral, then you're sick. You have to look at it, when it comes to dating, you have to look at it is this person a good person? Does he deserve to date an attractive female? Right? If an attractive female doesn't look at it that way, they're sick. Now, when I say they're sick, I'm not, in this video, I'm not trying to chastise anybody per se. I'm not trying to insult anyone. There we go. I'm not trying to insult anyone per se. What I'm doing is pointing out the problem. These females on the screen, okay? I'm not here to judge their lives in this video. I do judge everybody because I'm Christ, the Son of God. But in this video, I'm not here to judge their lives. I'm here to point out what by their actions they are communicating. In fact, I do think one of these females is a very friendly and likable person. Okay. So on the bottom, you should see these celebrities who have kind of, there's a thin line between a celebrity female who most people consider attractive, or a lot of people consider attractive, and a model, right? It's a model, right? A point of reference, a model to be used to understand things. That's how celebrities are used. They're used as points of references. When people pick an actress for a movie, for example, they say, what qualities does she have? What qualities do we associate with her? What is she communicating to the world? And an actress is a priceless example of how females, they take a lot of time typically, and they get dressed up and they communicate something deliberately to society. They want them to think that they're sexy, that they're this religion. Maybe they put on a cross or whatever. Maybe they dress like a Muslim. They want them to think that they're stylish, they're smart, what have you. They try to communicate something. Maybe they dress like a feminist and make a mean face. And so part of their actions that reveals some part of their character is their communication. Now, in my case, society does things in a way that makes it hard for me to wear certain clothes. Okay, it's a long story why that is. So sometimes you'll see me, if you see me on the road or something, you'll see me with some kind of torn up sweater. But this is, it's like Jesus in rags, right? In fact, I am Jesus and I'm in rags at times, right? So, it's a symbol of being persecuted. Why am I driving like a pretty nice, not a trashy car, not an expensive car, and I'm dressed in rags because I'm persecuted. So you got to kind of put it in this context. You say, who is this guy? What race is he? How's he dressing? Because race factors in terms of the communication. For example, if you're a white person and you dress like a racist person, maybe you have a Trump hat, maybe you're dressed in a little subtle signs that you're in the Klan or something, you're shaped a certain way, that factors in. So we got to look at the sum total presentation, and that's a part of it. Okay, so I only got a couple minutes left, so let me wrap this up here. So as we look at the females on the screen and how they all resemble to a certain degree the celebrities, that's because we live in a society where there's a bunch of celebrities who are false idols, who are leading people astray, and it affects the social norms and the social relations, and that includes, the gender relations, dating. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? There's no other way it could be. So every female on the screen is communicating that they would reject me, whether they want to admit it to themselves or not. Every female on the screen is communicating that if they didn't reject me, if they were single, whatever, I know at least one of them isn't single. If they were single, okay, and they actually gave me a chance, that it wouldn't work out. And it wouldn't work out because I don't fit their cultural requirements, their cultural imperative. Take the nice Latina looking female on the top. We'll say the one, I think she's the second from the right. Okay. And she looks like, a very friendly person, very likable person. Okay. If I started to get to know her and we started dating, what would happen? She would see that I'm profoundly deep and spiritual. She'd quickly believe that I'm the top martial arts ever because it's easy to put that together. When you hear my arguments, people who listen to my videos, one to one, they believe me. Okay. Sometimes they might play stupid, but it's obvious they believe me. And so, she would start seeing that, and she would ask herself, how does that relate to her friends and her family? And she would see the government telling her, I don't want you to date this guy, okay? Because anyone who's seen us helping him, especially including people who are dating him, okay, are going to be given a hard time. They probably flat out tell her that. So obviously the people who are targeting me are changing my voice to try to make it so I sound like a weirdo, manic, like a wise ass, what have you. And that's not how I would sound in person. And I'm also doing all the talking instead of taking time to stop and think, in a conversation. And that makes it so when the fumes and everything kicks in, it sounds weird, and they often, they tweak it, after the fact, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we can ascertain that I'm far more deep, spiritual, mature, sincere, honest, what have you, than other people. And quite often when females are the most kind of reasonable, they take on the kind of fairy way that she's taken on, right? A lot of people find this pleasant. A lot of LGBT people want it that way, what have you. Okay, but it's not compatible with profound moral precision from God. And the person wouldn't want to leave their culture and be trained by me. And thus it's a cultural barrier.